And pursuant to the Ralph M. Brown Act provisions, we are meeting remotely. And I believe that we do have a nice, wonderful thing that will be played for us. So you don't have to listen to me read the whole thing.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of Assembly Bill 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should mute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice for public comment guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Okay, Terry Ann, do you mind calling roll call for us?
Yes. Member Allen?
Here.
Member Haskew?
Here.
Member Hernandez?
Present.
Member Obringer? Did not see her here. Member Perkins?
Here.
Member Ross?
Present.
Member Stepper?
Here.
Member Storr?
Here.
Vice Chair Nowak?
Here.
Chair Anderson?
I'm here.
And then just wanted to note that we also had Member Testa, the alternate for Member Hernandez, and Member Carlson that will soon be joining the Innovate 680 PAC with us as well tonight.
Well,
Correct. She just will fill in after I leave for my mayor's meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. We appreciate you being here while we have you, Melissa. So thank you. Now we're going to open public comment. Terry Ann, have we received any written public comment?
No written public comment.
Okay, and is there anyone here in the public who is not part of our committee who wishes to speak? I'm not seeing any hands raised. Oh, we do. Raquel, please go ahead.
Yes. Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for taking my hand call. I wanted to see, I am developing property on 2337 San Pablo Avenue, and I'm trying to get some bicycle racks in there, and I'm just trying to navigate and see how I can get the approvals. I'm participating in this meeting. I'm trying to get the East Bay Bicycle Coalition to help me get some bicycle racks for the sidewalk.
Okay, and that is not under the purview of this committee, but certainly, Terry Ann, could you get her contact information and perhaps put her in contact with like East Bay, or potentially sometimes there are other opportunities through MTC or others where there may be some subsidies for bicycle racks, something like that. Are you developing it through the city of San Pablo, or are you?
Oh, actually, I'm developing it on my own, and I'm going through the permitting process, but I'm getting a roadblock with the traffic division saying that there's no space in the sidewalks for a bicycle rack, and the East Bay Coalition disagrees with that. And they recommended that I go through the committee to state my concern about that, so that I could get the traffic division to a little bit be more attentive and assist me in getting the clearance for a bicycle rack.
Okay, well, thank you. And again, we're not the right committee for this, and technically, because of the Brown Act, we shouldn't we can't really comment on it, but I think Terry Ann will, and Contra Costa Transportation Authority staff would be happy to get your contact information and hopefully give you some additional insight direction of who might
Okay.
be able to help you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? I am not seeing any. And so at this point, let's move forward. We have the Innovate 680 Policy Advisory Committee minutes of October 12th, 2022. Any comment on those minutes? This is really our consent calendar.
No, but I'll move the item.
Okay, do I have a second? And do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
No public comment. And can I confirm who made the second?
Karen.
Karen Stepper. So Sue Nowak made the motion, second by Karen Stepper. Okay, and if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Member Allen,
Yes.
member Haskew,
Yes.
member Hernandez,
Aye.
member Obringer,
I'm going to abstain as I was not a member of the committee at that time.
okay, thank you. Member Perkins,
Aye.
member Ross,
Aye.
member Stepper,
Aye.
member Storr,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nowak,
Yes.
Chair Anderson.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously with member Obringer abstaining.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We're going to move right into our regular agenda items. And the first item for discussion, it's informational, and it's going to be presented by Stephanie, who is going to provide us an update on where we are with the Innovate 680 program and project. And so Stephanie, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Anderson, and confirming you can see the slides okay? Yes, I see nods. Thank you.
Yes.
So can skip this, I think. So this is our 12th meeting, and yeah, this is an item for an information item to provide an update on the current status of our program and projects. This slide should look very familiar. It's our program goals, which is really to improve safety, connectivity, efficiency, reliability of our Interstate 680 corridor, and also preparing it for the future with providing accessibility options and encouraging mode shift, and thereby improving air quality along the corridor. These are our 6 projects, which I'll go over quickly in terms of status, and a couple of these are going to be highlighted as part of today's meeting, so maybe I'll skip over those more quickly. First being the Express Lanes project, we're currently in the environmental clearance phase, and we're finalizing the environmental studies as well as engineering reports. A significant milestone for our project is that we received concurrence from Caltrans headquarters on our VMT mitigation approach, which we'll talk more about later in the presentation or in the meeting. Part-time transit lane, the project initiation document was recently approved by Caltrans, though the main focus this year for this project is the testing and training at Momentum Station for the transit bus on shoulder operation, which we received some funding for, and $2 million from TIRSIP in the last round. And hopefully that helps to train the bus drivers and also have some use test cases to run at Momentum Station to facilitate that implementation. And we're continue to look for opportunity for legislation for the implementation of part-time transit lane. Shared Mobility Hubs, we completed the feasibility study last month. We're having ongoing conversations with Bishop Branch to see if we can relocate the the mobility hubs that it's currently planned at the Park and Ride at Bollinger Canyon Road to Bishop Branch proper, which is right across the street from City Center and the business park. So that seems to be a more ideal location. So staff is having conversation with Bishop Branch about that possibility. Next project is the ADS, or automated driving system, and that's the 3 demo projects at the Rossmore County Hospital, and then testing of autonomous vehicle and connected vehicle along 680. Work's been continuing with our partners of Verizon, Beep, Nissan, and UC Berkeley. And coordination continues with AAA on testing at Momentum Station. We're also gearing up for a shared autonomous shuttle at Bishop Branch in the next few months. So we're also working on a vehicle shuttle vendor selection for the county hospital project. For Moss, the app is going through the beta testing with a pilot, hoping to have a pilot app plan for the spring with about 1,000 people who took our survey who are interested in our project, and hopefully they can be our beta testers. And the team continues to work on integration of various vendors, BART, and transit agencies. And this project is also agendized in this meeting, so more to come on that one. And advanced technology, there are two projects. First is the Coordinated Adaptive Ramp Metering, or CARM. The draft CONOPS has been submitted to Caltrans and FHWA for approval. And also that project continues to coordinate with Caltrans, who's doing their ramp metering project as well. So we're coordinating closely to make sure we are lockstep in progressing both of our projects and hopefully in an integrated way. And the second project is the Coordinated Adaptive Traffic Signals, or CATS. And that team has been working on the project CONOPS and also meeting and coordinating with the local jurisdictions along the corridor to develop that document. And then some funding updates. We program 2022 STIP about $25 million, both together with construction and design. And that is for the first phase of CARM. And then $15 million program for the design of the first phase of northbound express lanes. We've programmed $5.7 million for CARM from TVTC. And then TIRSIP Cycle 5, which provided partial funding for the 680 Express Bus project. It is total in about $35 million, a mix of TIRSIP, state, and federal funding. And the funding will go towards 6 hydrogen zero emission buses, fueling facility at LAFTA and County Connection, shared mobility hubs at Bollinger Canyon Road, and then the bus on shoulder testing and training that I spoke about just a bit earlier at Momentum Station. And then last year, you may know that we applied for MEGA in collaboration with MTC for each of our Innovate 680 projects, also other key project along the 680 corridor. Unfortunately, we were not successful, but we are looking forward to coordinating with MTC on our strategies in the next round. We also recently submitted a SB1 competitive local partnership program application in November, and that's for an enhancement of CARM Phase 1 for construction. And then right now, we're working on a joint application for TIRSIP Cycle 6 with LAFTA, County Connection, and Tri-Delta Transit. For our assets, CCTAs will be for the 2 unfunded mobility hubs along 680, part-time transit lane implementation, and then other transit components from County Connection and LAFTA and Tri-Delta. And with that, I'll take a pause and see if there are any questions.
Great, a lot of information. And for those of you who are new to our Innovate 680, please don't hesitate to ask questions. As you heard, this is our 12th meeting, so we've sort of been led along on this path. I think most of us have a pretty good idea of what's going on, but by all means, don't hesitate to ask if you have any questions. What a quiet group we are tonight. Okay, I am not seeing any questions from our
Mark Ross.
Oh, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I just followed the instructions and physically raised my hand.
I know, and I did it. You didn't pop to the top of my screen, but please go ahead.
What is a mini RFP, as in the one for the county hospital? I've never heard the term mini RFP.
I think I'm not sure Jack is on, but I think it's just a shorter list of people or firms, vendors that can do the work and not blast it out to the, I think it's a selected group of people that we know would be qualified to be vendors for that project, and then reach out to the limited amount, a short list of people or vendors that can propose on the project or would be qualified with their experience.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's a great project. Looking forward to that coming to fruition.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other committee members who might have a question? And I'm scanning for live hands too. I am not seeing any. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to ask a question or comment at this time? I am not seeing anyone. So let's move on. And next item is also informational, and it's going to be presented by Stephanie to provide an update on our Innovate 680 Express Lane completion project and the vehicle miles traveled analysis approach to this.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. Yeah, you're going to hear a lot from me tonight, and this is going to be a lot of information, so I'll try to go slower and hopefully it's clear. So it is to provide an overview of both the current project alternative and also the VMT implementation required for in relations to SB 743. So currently the goal, this is current map of our proposed project map. And the goal of the project is really to reduce or close the express lane gap on northbound 680. Currently on northbound 680, the existing express lane shown in the light blue line here ends in Navorna. And the project is proposing to construct a northbound express lane from Navorna to SR 242, which closes a 7.5 mile gap. And that is shown in a dark blue dash line on the map. And the project will also convert the existing northbound HOV lane to an express lane. And that runs from 242 to the Martinez Bridge toll plaza. And that is the dark blue line on the map. And currently the project is in environmental clearance phase. So the purpose of the project is to reduce congestion and delay on 680 northbound during peak periods, improving travel time reliability along the corridor, encouraging users to use the HOV lane and transit, optimizing the use of existing capacity of the HOV lane, and also providing efficient travel options for vehicles, both carpool and non-carpool. The project aims to address the need for congestion relief, where delays can often reach up to 30 minutes in the peak period in the PM while traveling from one end of the county to another. The project also addresses the gap that we currently have in the managed lane or express lane system. And then lastly, the project addresses the operational deficiency on the corridor, such as the weaving issues in the area around Lawrence and Treat, which regularly cause backup back to the 24 interchange. So I'm going to provide overview of our alternatives, but before we dive into the alternatives, I wanted to highlight a few key design features or elements to the proposed project as shown on the slide. Each of the alternatives that I'll go over in a bit will have some combination of these design features. So first design element is the realignment of southbound 680 in the vicinity of 680 and SR 24 interchange. As you know, there is in the Ignacio Valley Boulevard area, there is a road area. There is a BART structure that goes over 680 with columns in or on the 680 roadway. And the BART structure and columns have always presented a challenge for us to fit in a continuous northbound express lane through that area. And the realignment of 680 southbound is a solution to this challenge of physically fitting in a northbound express lane. The second feature is this existing HOV conversion to express lane. This is specifically at the north end of the project, where the existing HOV lane from SR 242 to the bridge toll plaza will be converted to an express lane. And this feature is common to all the alternatives. And the third element being proposed is a braided ramp system between Lawrence Way on-ramp and Treat Boulevard off-ramp. The braided ramps essentially separates the on-ramp and off-ramp movements, with Lawrence Way on-ramp going underneath a new exit for Treat Boulevard off-ramp, which then will greatly reduce the weaving conflicts that happen in that area. And there'll be more visual on that later. So don't worry if it's not clear in your mind, but we will have pictures and visuals. So, and then the fourth key element is the general purpose lane conversion, which is to convert an existing general purpose lane to an express lane. So we're currently studying 4 build alternatives, and each of them have some of the combination of the key features we just went over. Alt 1C is closed express lane gap alternative. And this alternative includes realignment of the southbound 680 roadway in order to fit in that continuous northbound express lane through the 680-24 interchange and also through the area of the BART structure. And this alternative and all the build alternative includes converting the existing HOV lane between 242 and the toll plaza, which is shown in that dark blue line up top here. So that blue area, that blue dotted or blue solid line is common to all alternatives. Alt 2 is the reduce the gap alternative with braided ramps. This alternative does not totally complete the express lane system in the northbound direction. It actually leaves a gap in the vicinity of the 680-24 interchange. And this alternative includes the operational improvements of the braided ramps at Lawrence and Treat. Alt 3 is essentially alternative 1C plus alternative 2, which closes a gap with braided ramps. And Alt 5 is proposing to reduce the express lane gap by converting a general purpose lane to an express lane. And also this alternative has the braided ramp element. And then lastly, there is a no-bill alternative as part of our study, which is required. And that means we would maintain the existing condition. And if you're wondering why there's like no Alt 4 or the lettering or numberings are kind of funky, is because we have eliminated some alternatives that are no longer viable. So that's why there's some skipping of numbers. It's not.
I have a question.
Yes.
So Stephanie, I've not heard that term, maybe because I haven't been at all those TCTA meetings of braided ramps, but I assume that means that fact that we're weaving when we get off there between different lanes, depending on whether we're going across the road or turning.
Yeah.
She's gonna show us pictures, she
Yeah,
said.
I will show you a picture in a second, but it's essentially like, you know, separating the ramp so they're not, you know, people are getting on and people are getting off and they're kind of mixed and then causing congestion.
So I'm surprised that those are continuing to be in all these alternatives because I thought we would like to get rid of those braided ramps because they're really dangerous in my opinion.
Well, it's going through our studies and traffic and safety, of course. But so far it's shown to be effective operational improvements, but maybe we can get to the pictures and visual, maybe making sure we have the same thing.
Right. And Karen, braided ramps isn't the current condition. Braided ramps is where you have a lower one crossing over an upper one or slightly different. So Stephanie will show us pictures.
Okay.
So don't worry about it. The braided isn't keeping the same end. It sounds like it for those of us who know how to braid hair, but no, it's not that.
It's not that. It's actually, but that's actually interesting you went there. So I'm happy to show pictures and visual. Hopefully that will alleviate any concerns. Okay, so I'm going to give a short snippet of each alternative. And I know we talked a lot about the overall, but I'm hoping to go one by one to give you a better understanding of each of them at a high level. So I'll be showing strip maps like this, the one you're seeing. They all show northbound 680 only, and they all show the same coverage area. And the map begins on the left at around Navorna. And that's where the current existing express lane ends. And that's in that light blue. The strip map ends on the right-hand side at 242. And that's because all the build alternatives to the north of that is essentially the same, which is converting the existing HOV lane to an express lane. Again, the light blue in that little small area is where the existing express lane ends. And the light blue line with the dark blue around it is the new express lanes. And then yellow area is the widening, indication of widening. So just these schemes will be the same across all the maps. So just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. So for Alt C, which is the closing the gap, the main feature is the realignment of 680 to create that space to fit in a northbound express lane from Olympic to Treat. The realignment and the westbound 24 that will be shifted is to accommodate the space needed. You'll see on the map that the northbound express lane goes kind of outside of the northbound roadway for a storage segment, and that's what it is. It's and I'll show a visual and simulation in a moment that shows how that works. The express lane is added from Treat to 242 with restriping of the existing pavement. And then the last feature again is north of 242 where existing HOV is converted to express. This is a picture of the existing condition in the vicinity of 24680. You should be very familiar with this area where you see the existing BART structure going over the freeway. And this is looking south. Westbound 24 is on your far right. Southbound 680 is in the middle of the picture. Eastbound 24 merging onto 680 northbound is right here on the left. And then on the far left is the northbound 680 roadway. The 24-680 interchange here it's a challenge to close the express lane gap first because eastbound 24 merges onto northbound 680 on the left-hand side of 680, making it difficult for a continuous northbound express lane to kind of poke through this area. And then second, the existing BART structure with the multiple columns on 680 and westbound 24 poses a challenge. This is a visual of Alt 1C. Again, this is looking south. This alternative will close the gap by accommodating the space needed for the northbound express lanes by shifting the westbound 24 and the southbound 680 roadways to the west and threading the roadway between the existing BART columns. So westbound 24 will be shifted to the west of column P10 here. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but I'm good.
Yes.
Okay, west of P10, southbound 680 would be between P10 and P11. And then the express lanes, both southbound and northbound, will be between 11 and 12. And the new express lane will be now on the left of the merge. So I'm going to click back and forth so we can see the difference. Sorry, wrong way. So this is existing. And this is the proposed 1C in this area. Existing and 1C. So if there is another visual aid here with a simulation I'm hoping to show to convey this, what we're trying to do here in this alternative. So the simulation will begin by us kind of flying down onto northbound 680 near westbound 24 off-ramp. It shows us kind of in the driver's seat. The new express lanes will start shifting to the left, but we'll continue on this express lane. So it kind of exits. We will soon drive underneath. We'll go under the existing westbound 24 flyover structure. We also drive under the eastbound 24 Ignacio Valley Boulevard off-ramp and this merge of eastbound 24. And then on our left here, we'll kind of look over. That is the southbound express lane next to us. And soon this camera view will kind of turn on a 180. And you'll see the southbound 680 roadway, westbound 24, and then we're looking towards the south again. So that's Alt 1 in the 24 interchange area. So
Stephanie, can you just talk
changed
about
the exits?
Oh.
Have you changed the exit from North Main?
Change the exit from
When you come northbound on 680 and you go right towards the main road and you can get off at North Main Street, is that still there?
So yeah, where it kind of shifts is where Ignacio Valley Road is. So north of Ignacio Valley, the exits, whatever, shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. And the other question I had on that one is that tiny little yellow part where you said that means widening?
Yeah, just taking over right to the right-hand side to create room for the lanes.
So people will either get off there at 24 or they'll just keep going. But okay, I got it.
The lane the way you exit remains the same. It's just that we needed to create a little widening to accommodate the space needed.
Thank you.
Stephanie, where does the express lane, where do you get on it and where do you get off it? So what exits are you not able to get off of if you get on the express lane?
You're talking about like buffers, I'm assuming, like where the buffers are, like when, is that what?
So if you get in that express lane that you were showing us, obviously it would be pretty hard to get off at some of these exits.
Correct, yeah. So there would
So which exits do you have to, can you not get off of? If you get onto the express lane.
Will you be stuck?
Well, I will be, I'm likely assuming I'm not being able to get off in Pleasant Hill anywhere.
Yeah, well, no, I think that's something we need to look. Yeah, buffers are not finalized. And then generally that is done during the PSNE phase where we work with MTC because there's also like pricing and tolling that goes along with that. So I can't unfortunately give you the extent, like from here to here, that's when you can get in or out. That's still to be worked out.
Other questions by committee members? I'm not seeing anyone else's hand. It's a little, I have to scroll down because we've got the screen up. Raquel, I see your hand up as a member of the public. Did you have a question about this proposal?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was left from.
Or is it left over from her original question?
Yeah, I felt like it was there on the corner of my screen, but
Okay.
Oh,
Any,
no, yes, I do have a
I took her
question.
hand. Yeah, I lowered her hand, but I just unmuted her.
oh, okay, thank you.
As to that proposal, it just looks like it's taking more space just to accommodate some express lanes. And I personally don't, I want to know if there has been a study for the end user on how they feel and their experience with these express lanes, because I commute all the time and I talk to commuters and they hate the express lanes because it's accommodating one express lane for a few people and congesting the other lanes. And this proposal on the lane to veer off to 24, you're having two express lanes with a wide range to get the buffers and the side strips where you can accommodate two other lanes that are not express.
Yeah.
It just feels like a long stretch of wasted space just to put in that express lane. I don't agree with it. I think it needs more study. I think we really need the end user, the taxpayers who are actually paying out of their hard-earned money to pay for the roads. I think we need something more efficient. I want to know how, as a resident, I can discuss this with my neighbors and people who actually use these roads, so that they're the ones who are going to benefit or suffer from it for these consequences that are very permanent.
Yep. If I may respond, thank you for the comment. We're still in environmental clearance phase. We are studying, this is one alternative and there's four more. And then there will be public comments as part of the environmental process where we welcome any feedback from the public.
well, and I would also tell you, Raquel, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission is the one who oversees once these lanes are in operation. They do study them to look at the efficiency. Typically, when we've looked at them before, because there was resistance on 680 on the south end of the county when they first were going in, ultimately, all the studies showed that even though the people in the toll lane got there faster, everyone in the other lanes also got there a little bit faster because it freed up some congestion. But MTC is the place where they have studies on the efficacy of these toll lanes. But as Stephanie suggested, this is part of the environmental study, is to see how efficient this will work, the benefit of it, et cetera.
You know, unfortunately, they get engineers that don't even live in the area. It would be nice when they do their proposals and their designs or engineering to not only aerial space view it, but to actually physically drive through it in the morning, commuter rush hour, in the weekends, as a process to see how it's working, because I don't think they put that attention in it.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comments on this issue? Stephanie, we're going to take it back to you. I'm assuming there's still, we've still got more presentation coming.
Yes, yeah, thank you. I try to get us back here. Again, there's more alternatives to come. So this one I'm showing is Alt 2, which is reducing the gap on the express lane. The strip map should look familiar. In this alternative, express lane in the northbound direction is being extended from Navarna to South Main through widening. Instead of realigning 680 like we just saw to close that gap, a gap is now going to remain for this alternative between South Main and North Main. The braided ramps at Lawrence and Treat is being proposed here with the braided ramps as a key feature of this alternative. And it is an operational improvement to address that weaving issue that we talked about. And from Treat Boulevard to 242, the express lane is added through restriping. And then again, north of 242 is the same of existing HOV to express. And there is a visual of what the situation looks like right now. This is the Lawrence and Treat area, and we're looking north. This is the North Main Street loop off ramp that currently exists. The ramp here is the Lawrence Way on ramp. And this is that weaving bottleneck area where vehicles are exiting to Treat and is mixing with those trying to get on 680. So that's the weaving area that we're trying to address. And now there's a simulation on how that looks like. So we're looking north, and this is the North Main Street over 680. And then Lawrence Way is on our right. And different from the existing condition, those wanting to exit Treat will exit at North Main on this loop ramp. So cars wanting to go to North Main will stay on that loop, will go on the loop. But those wanting to go to Treat will go straight here on that ramp, which is elevated in order to have Lawrence go underneath Treat, thereby separating those movements we talked about. Those all exiting Lawrence isn't like joining or weaving with those who are trying to exit at Treat. So this is that braided ramps that I was trying to convey in words, but hopefully this is more clear. Committee member Stepper.
Yeah, these are very helpful, Stephanie. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully I know it's a lot in words earlier. So this is the operation improvements I was talking about to really alleviate this weaving movement and the bottleneck issue that is currently going on in this area, and often it spills back to 24 and even further back. So Alt 3 is basically Alt 1 plus Alt 2 together. It closes the gap with that southbound realignment we talked about. It has the braided ramps in Treat and Lawrence. And then north of 242 is when you convert the HOV to express. The fourth build alternative, or the last one, is Alt 5, which includes taking a general purpose lane and convert it to an express lane. Here's that strip map again. Alt 5 reduces the gap with the express lane installed through the conversion of existing general purpose lane. So first, instead of from Livorno to South Main, instead of widening, we will convert the general purpose lane to an express lane from Livorno to about South Main. We'll leave a gap between South Main to about North Main. And then this alternative has that operational improvement feature of the braided ramps at Lawrence and Treat. And then from Treat to 242, we would have a new express lane, but that would be through converting an existing general purpose lane. And north of 242 is the same as the other alternatives. So here's a summary of all the alternatives stacked together with all the maps. So 1C closes the gap with southbound realignment. Alt 2 reduces the gap with the braided ramps. Alt 3 is basically 1 and 2 combined, closing the gap with braided ramps. Alt 5 reduces the gap, and then, but really by converting GP lanes or general purpose lane in various segments, and also it has the braided ramps. And then again, all four alternatives are the same north of 242, converting that existing HOV to express. Here's a summary of the capital costs for all the alternatives, which ranges from 117 million to 375 million. The least expensive being Alt 5 because it's less elements, really, because we're converting lanes, existing general purpose lanes. Alt 3 is the most expensive, which closes the gap and also has the braided ramps. Maybe I'll pause here to take some questions.
Yeah, why don't we pause here just to see if there's any more before we jump into our vehicle miles traveled discussion. Does anyone have any questions about what's been presented, capital cost? You're not asking us to choose which one we like best tonight. You're just showing where we're going and what we're studying. Okay, I am not seeing any. Oh, Karen, you've got your hand up. Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't even see myself on my own screen the way this.
Well, we can see you, so that's good.
So it's just that I do have concerns with the last alternative, which is taking more lane and converting it, because it's going to affect the number of exits. But I mean, we're going to see more in the future about this issue. But whereas the first three did a lot of good things that I could see. So I'm not picking one. I'm just telling you the last one where we're converting him is also compounding sometimes the resistance to what we're doing. So.
And I see that, Carlin, please go ahead.
Thank you. So I had two questions. So the first, with the last alternative, if you're removing the HOV lane, how does that work? Because I still would like people to come to Concord, even though I know this is bypassing Concord, right? So can you explain to me, how this impacts the ability, since you're taking the HOV lane out, for people if they would like to come to Concord via 242, how they would do that?
Do you mean converting the HOV
Yes.
to Express?
Yes.
I think if it stay as 2+, it will be essentially an HOV lane. I don't think there's, at least that I'm aware of, MTC's the tolling operator. But so far it's been kept at 2+ for express lane. So essentially it's just like a regular HOV lane where any car of more than two or more people can go in there for free. So it's not really taking. What I meant was the HOV lane would just be converted to a toll lane. So those who are driving alone can get in with a fee, but those who are 2 and over will still be able to use it free of charge.
Okay, but how about if there's one person who would like to exit? I mean, I'm just trying to understand, because it sounds like there's and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but this lane is going to be an express lane now. So yeah, does it have any impact on the exit ability of somebody to get off the express lane?
You're talking more like access and egress, like getting out of the lane.
Yes.
That's a
Yes.
question as committee member NOAC. We don't really know where those buffers is not defined at the moment, and that's to be worked out with MTC again with the tolling policy and the revenue and all that stuff, and studying in that level. So I don't know where those buffers are at the moment.
But Stephanie, in that proposal, you're not isolating it like you are in 1C.
Right.
It is isolated by stripes on the road, not by a massive barrier.
No, yeah, what I'm trying to say is that is
I'm just trying to explain to Carlin that I'm not sure it's as express with a barrier like in 1C. It's in the latter one.
I see why you thought it was a barrier, because it was like a dark blue line around the light blue line. That was just to denote. Maybe we'll change the color to red or something next time, so it doesn't give you the impression those are barriered. Then I can see why you guys are confused.
Well, and of course, it defeats the purpose of an express lane if you make it so difficult to get in and out. And I know that's one of my challenges, especially if I'm driving in another city that I'm not familiar. I want to get in the express lane or the carpool lane if I have the right number of people. But if I don't know that I can get out in time for my exit, it's disconcerting. And obviously signage will help with all of that. But I think particularly where we do have Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill and Concord all in a very short period of time, we don't want to restrict the ability of people to exit into those communities.
Thank you. And then my other question, and I'm sorry if I missed it, but you have shared these alternatives with us. And so is it MTC who's going to evaluate and then determine which of the alternatives will move forward, or what's the evaluation process, and what's the timeline for determining which one?
Thank you for the question. It's coming at the end of the presentation.
Oh, okay. I can wait.
Great. Okay.
Yes, I'm happy to wait. Thank you.
Okay, it looks like let me make sure, committee members, no other questions. Let's go to the public. Tanziba, please go ahead, and if you want to unmute her, Tarian. It looks like.
Hi. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for unmuting me. So I have a question on those 4 of those alternatives. Do you have any schedule or working day estimate, like which one will take faster or which one will take longer time to build, because it's going to have a lot of impact on the traveling public, right?
Yeah, we're working through those, and that will be presented as part of our environmental document certification, the draft. Yes, definitely. And we've been working with district staff on preparing.
Okay. And also for the level of service, right? So which alternative will improve level of service from, I don't know, what is the current one? Is it D to A, or how it's going to impact that? So is it going to be done by MTC or CCTA?
So yeah, CCTA is the project sponsor, and yeah, we are going through our tour process. I see your district 4, so I'm going to speak in acronyms, but yeah, we're working on the traffic operational analysis report. And so far we're showing all those 4 build alternatives having improvements over no build, and that's why we're moving those alternatives forward for continuing studies. but I don't have like exact letters. I'm sorry, but I'm happy to follow up later if that's of interest, or I'll connect you with our Caltrans counterparts that we've been working on this project with. It's an oversight project with Caltrans, so they're very much involved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions about this before we have Stephanie continue on to the vehicle miles traveled discussion? I am not seeing any, so go ahead, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you. 1 second. Okay, so Senate Bill 743, just how the project's been incorporating the implementation of the requirements as a result of SB 743. So next, stuck. Okay, so background on SB 743 was signed into law in 2013, but it wasn't until September 2020 that Caltrans released their VMT implementation guidance. And VMT is now identified as a new metric to study transportation impacts by land use and transportation projects, and replacing that level of service or LOS metric. And VMT is now a metric to measure how much new additional auto travel is generated by a project, and that equates to additional emissions that the project will generate. This project is one of the first in our state to implement 743, and that's been a challenge in itself, but it's also been rewarding, I guess, to really trailblaze in this area of VMT implementation. And a few note on SB 743, the guidance from Caltrans doesn't really establish a significance threshold, like if you're above a certain number, you're considered significant. Any increase in VMT is considered a significant impact. Induced VMT by a project needs to be fully mitigated. And the VMT modeling is required to determine that project-induced VMT, and the state has a calculator that we can use. And then also modeling is needed to calculate the amount of VMT reduction generated by the proposed mitigation measures. The state provided a calculator that we can do that I just mentioned. Okay, and then VMT modeling and mitigation strategies will need to go through a formal Caltrans approval process. This is a summary of the project-induced VMT by alternative, because alternatives 1C, 2, and 3 include some form of lane add to have this express lane. These alternatives are considered capacity increasing and therefore increases the VMT. The VMT increase or induced range from 84,000 to 103,000, and they need to be mitigated depending on which alternative. And you'll note that Alt 5, that general purpose lane conversion alternative, is exempt from the SB 743 implementation because that alternative is not increasing capacity. And that's one of the reasons that Alt 5 is part of our study alternative. And also we received public comments that a GP conversion alternative should be studied. And CCTA has developed a mitigation proposal that will fully mitigate for the project-induced VMT. Our proposal includes a new 680 express bus service between Dublin Pleasant and Park Station and the Martinez Amtrak Station, 3 mobility hubs at those limited stops for the express bus service, and then also a TDM program, or expanding our TDM program that CCTA already operates. These mitigation strategies have capital costs and also ongoing O&M costs, and Caltrans has provided a preliminary concurrence on our VMT mitigation proposal. Here's a summary of capital costs with mitigation cost added to the table. And the cost shown here for mitigation, it includes 20 years of mitigation. We've talked a lot about CCTA taking on O&M roles for the elements of Innovate 680 during these PAC meetings. And this is one of those instances where CCTA has to take on the role of O&M because of needing to implement mitigation for SB 743. So this is the topic that committee member Obringer was asking. So environmental consideration. 680 is a Caltrans facility, and they are, Caltrans is the NEPA CEQA lead. The process of identifying and selecting a preferred alternative includes evaluating various environmental impacts, and VMT is just one of them, and there are others such as biological, cultural, air quality, and whatnot. Traffic performance is part of the evaluation, cost is another, and then public input is important and needs to be gathered through the environmental process. So all of those things will be incorporated into the decision or evaluation process. And the question about who makes the decision is the project development team that's managing this project. So it consists of CCTA, MTC, and Caltrans, and then we'll incorporate all those comments received from the public and then the results of all those engineering and environmental studies. And then schedule-wise, speaking of public input, we're hoping to circulate a draft environmental document later this year, tentatively in September. And then with comments received, the final environmental document and project approval through the Caltrans process is planned to be completed June of next year. And then with that,
and Stephanie, who I'm assuming it's the CCTA board that will be making that decision as to the preferred project based upon all the information they have in front of them and the funding, et cetera.
I think the decision-making resides in the PDT or project development team level. And obviously CCTA is part of that process. We're the project sponsor. So we will be able to communicate our concerns as a county. I mean, representing CCTA staff will, and then MTC is part of that picture. They're the operator of the express lanes, and then Caltrans, they're the facility owner. But very much we need public input, will be considered as part of that evaluation process. So it's not the CCTA board.
So it's really not. Okay, and which is something we're not always used to. So it's
first it's like a city project where like the city,
right.
I see. Yeah.
Okay, Sue, you've got a question. Please go ahead.
So I think when we were looking at 1A and B, and I forgot the other numbers we looked at way back when, but we had a time savings to analysis that didn't show significant time savings. I assume that's going to be part of this analysis as well.
Yeah, so I spoke about, there's many criteria. I think I don't want to bring it up again, but basically cost, traffic performance, impacts, environmental impacts, VMT being transportation impacts being one of them, but cultural, air quality, water resource, just environmental impacts. And then public input, that's a big part of it too. Like, what are we hearing from the public about these alternatives? That all goes into that decision-making process. And then speak to the time performance. I didn't want to, this will be very long if I went through all of that. So I think, as we get further, happy to bring back each of the alternatives. You guys want to dive deeper on, about the traffic analysis and the results. And I may need support from a traffic engineer who has expertise to really go in details if that's of interest later on as we get closer to the release of the document and when our traffic operational reports is final. Happy to do that.
But that was some of the reason we eliminated some of those earlier options was cost versus lack of any true savings. And so a couple of them were eliminated early on because of sort of that analysis. So I just wanted to mention we had gone a little bit through that.
Correct. So for example, you didn't see alt 4, and that was the alternative where we would convert a general purpose lane to an HOV, and that showed to be that performed worse than no bill, like doing nothing. It was worse than doing nothing. So therefore, there was no reason to continue studying it for no reason. So that's dropped out. We consider a control flow lane. So instead of actually sharing the southbound express lane space with the contra flow. So that was eliminated early on. So anyway, so there's a lot of reasons where we had eliminated previous alternatives that were in the running, and now we're down to 4. Okay, Sue, any other questions? Karen, I see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, this is quick though. I didn't understand, it's pretty quick, who's making the decision? The project developer, CCTA, MTC, and Caltrans? Am I got the right people?
Yeah, so it's the project development team or PDT that gets formed with every Caltrans project. It consists of the project sponsor, which is us in this case. And then this project, because it's express lane, MTC is involved. Well, they're the toll operator and they're actually funding this project, at least during this phase. And then Caltrans, because they're the CEQA NEPA lead, and also they own the facility.
Okay, I just
we-
couldn't, it
and then
was
the
sent pretty
public,
quickly, so.
Yeah, and I just don't want to forget the public input that we're obligated to gather as part of the environmental.
And I
document.
want to support what Sue was talking about, is the time element coming back to us. You said if there's some interest in that, yeah, I think that's a really important part.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay, any other questions from committee
you.
members or members of the public? I'm not seeing any virtual hands up either.
No
Okay.
public comment.
I'm sorry.
No public
Oh,
comment.
no public comment. You didn't receive any written. Okay, thank you, Terry Ann. Okay, so at this time we are going to be moving on, and this is another informational item. It's going to be presented to us by Ying Smith, and she's going to be providing an update on our shared autonomous vehicle deployment and mobility options as part of our 680 Mobility as a Service, our MAS project. So let's take it away if you'd like to, Ying. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and committee members. And I'm Ying Smith, Director of Mobility Programs. Thank you for including me in this meeting to provide you an update on the shared autonomous vehicle deployment and mobility as a service. Next slide, please. First, I would like to give you a brief background on the MOD grant. MOD stands for Mobility on Demand. In this project, we call it Mobility as a Service. We use both terms, the MOD and MAS, and they're essentially the same thing. So just don't want to cause more confusion. Many of you have heard the background on the MOD project, so I'll be brief on that. The MOD project is funded by an $8 million grant from the Federal Highway Administration. The goals of this project include encourage the use of greener modes of transportation, reduce VMT, improve air quality, increase accessibility to all modes, and optimize trip planning for more reliable travel. CCTA is the lead agency in this project with several partners involved. We began this project in March 2020. Next slide, please. A little bit more on MOD. The project allows users to access many modes of transportation on the same platform on a smartphone platform. It's the real-time information available to the travelers, including different modes of public transit, bikes, scooters, car share, and car rental. Customers may compare and choose the mode that works for them for that particular trip they're taking on that day. The app links payment to pay for different modes of transportation in one place, such as public transit fare and the charge on the bike share mode. They can also earn rewards for choosing the greener modes of transportation, such as public transit and bike share. Next slide, please. A little bit on the app development. The project team has worked really hard in coordinating with different agencies and different vendors in the app development. There are several steps in the development and testing, and we are more than 90% there. We did the alpha testing in January 2020. We tested the user stores. And the beta testing that was just completed at the end of last year allowed us to test the functionality of the apps. We are working towards the in spring, coming up pretty soon, the pilot testing phase that will allow us to test the functionality of the app in the production environment. So the screenshot on the right side of the slide show you the app interface. They came from the beta testing phase. Okay. Next slide, please. We brand the app as the 680 Forward, and there's a little bit more detail. You can see more screenshots of the interface. First, the board trip planning platform and services. This build the backbone of the app. There are two micro mobility options, Hopper and Bird. They're both for the micro mobility, and they are integrated in the service to allow users to get to them in standard mode. there's a car share option, and this will allow people to take the car, travel between Monaco and San Ramon. The connection service is integrated into the app to provide service along for the service along the 680 corridor. There's car share, TNC option. Those are all provided through the deep lane. The very interesting piece is the incentive program. This will be provided on the Miles platform, and it tracks people the most of their taking, and then they get to earn the rewards to use more. Like if they use bike share more, they get to earn those points for them to use them back in the app environment. Next slide, please. So shift gear a little bit. I want to talk about the shuttle. This SAB was started as a scheduled route in Fisher Ranch Business Park. And in the future app upgrade, the app will have the more better functionalities, including ride hailing, skip stop, and flexible routing. And then they will be branded as Presto shuttles. I'm learning this new name. The SAB will be implemented in Fisher Ranch Business Park, and we're working towards a March launch, and the pilot period will last for about 8 months. And the SAB, besides the really cool technology, it does provide a lot of benefits to our users as well as the environment. The next slide, please. So we want to show you the two proposed routes in Fisher Ranch, and they will both connect the key destinations within the business park. For us to launch, there are a few more steps. There are requirements to do a 30-day on-site testing, and then there are some permits that we will need to obtain prior to allowing the public on the vehicles. There will be also the integration of the SAB within the mall app, and that is underway. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, anyone have any questions? I am not seeing any from committee members. Do we have any written public comment, Terry Ann?
No written public comment.
Okay, and I am not seeing anyone from the public with their hands raised as well.
No public comment.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for that. Now we are going to see if there are any comments, sort of the additional policy advisory committee feedback. I think we're at that point right now. And so this is an opportunity to provide any feedback, comments on a future agenda. And one thing I have brought up is that this is the 12th meeting I think I've chaired. And I'm just wondering if someone else would like to be chair. We have a vice chair, Sue. I'm very happy to have someone take over. And I'm not one of those eternal rulers who is claiming this throne. So Sue, what is the pleasure of the committee?
I am happy to do it. I was about to say, I'm happy to do whatever the committee would like them to do. I have no problem either way.
I'm happy with the consistency we have right now with you, Candace, continuing to do it. I'm fine if Sue wants to do it, but I think you're doing a great job, Candace.
Well, I'm not asking for you to praise me. I just want to know if you want to change it, like we normally do.
Out. I got it.
I'm of the opinion, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay. Unless Sue, you have a desire for someone.
No. Okay. I've taken on enough stuff lately, so I think
you've got a lot going on.
I think you just stay right where you are.
Okay, I will keep doing it until someone says, "Hey, we need a change." Other feedback from the PAC about anything that really, this is sort of the open-ended question. What are you thinking about? Any issues that we haven't covered tonight that are concerns of yours from past presentations? Anything else? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Public, for those of you who have been here for the last 12 meetings or a portion thereof, any of you have questions or comments about what we're doing on this PAC?
Like no public comment.
Okay, I'm not seeing it. Everyone wants to say, hey, this is that hour-long meeting. I want to go back and do whatever else I'm doing. Okay, so correspondence, we have no correspondence or communications in our packet today. Then we are just going to go right ahead and adjourn to our meeting on April 12th at 6:00 p.m. And so I look forward to seeing all of you then.
I will not be here that day, so it's good we're not changing chairs.
Okay, because I need to keep doing it. You're going to be gone. Well, and the one point I do want to make, because I did discuss this with CCTA staff, they've indicated their legal counsel does not believe this meeting needs to be held in public, in person. They believe that we can continue to meet remotely.
Fantastic. Good news.
If their legal counsel says it's okay, it's good with me. So I'm going to continue. Unless we hear otherwise, please plan on this meeting being a remote meeting.
Great.
So long as we're following the Contra Costa Health Services guidance, as so long as they continue to recommend online meetings and social distancing, we can continue. So we'll still be evaluating it every
Okay, yeah. And I think, and I don't, to be honest, I don't know if the health department is going to take a different tact once the governor's state of emergency ends at the end of this month. We're grappling with that on the Board of Supervisors, as Ken will tell you, of trying to figure out how to create hybrid meetings for all of our other boards and committees. One thing I will say, if we're required to do back in person, we're looking at, for example, setting up my Danville office as a hybrid spot. So people in the South end of 680 could, and I'm sorry, just ignore my phone, could help with, end up there if they didn't want to battle traffic or something else. So we can work on that. Okay. Thank you very much.